What we know is a drop. What we don't know is the ocean.
Hello and welcome to the Newton Knowledge Podcast. My name is Mark Singer, partner of Newton One Advisors, and I'm joined by our managing partner, Steve Target. The Newton Knowledge Podcast will provide meaningful content to our valued advisor community. Our discussions will deliver unique insights into the people, processes, and products that make our industry so critical. Newton One is a national life insurance planning firm delivering customized solutions structured to help clients and their advisors engaged in solving estate planning, wealth transfer, business succession, and executive benefits challenges. We are a member of the M Financial Group, which grants our clients access to the nation's elite carriers and exclusive products available only through our network.
I could tolerate any insurance seminar. For days, I could sit there and listen to them go on and on with a big smile on my face. I'd say, how can you stand it?
We're in Finseca's headquarters, right? This is Finseca's headquarters.
Finseca headquarters.
Washington, D.C. It's April 21st, 2026. That's the correct date.
We should do a date stamp on that.
Especially for this one. Yeah, you brought that up when we had Josh on, because what we talk about today could potentially be remarkably different in November. Tomorrow or whenever. So it is April 21st. And it's also, you and I wore winter jackets down here today, and it was 80 degrees on Saturday. And it snowed yesterday when I was getting into my car, which is just ridiculous. But
it's a sign of the times.
Volatile.
How quickly things change.
Yeah, exactly. We'll bring it full circle. So today we're with Jennifer Fox, VP of Federal and Political Affairs at Finseca. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for hosting us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming down to D.C.
And we're looking forward to lunch later. Do we want to talk about that at all or no?
It doesn't matter to us. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah.
To you guys.
That's up to you. He's your guy.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about him or we can talk about why we're here.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was more thinking I was going to say, I was going to tie it to the tax bill and say, like the relationship you've built with Congressman Fitzpatrick, advocating.
Or as part of the explanation of Finseca, what Finseca is, who they are, who you are, what you do, and then maybe tie in there too.
Sure.
Well, before we go into Finseca, you got back from vacation.
I did.
Where did you go?
I was in Key West.
Okay. And how was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
It was 80 degrees and no snow.
Perfect. Well, welcome back. Tell us, so our audience can get to know you a little better. Aside from leading Finseca, what question do we want to pick? Or what do you want to talk about? What do you want to tell the audience? Do you want to tell us your favorite book? Do you want to tell us a theme song that you would prefer?
The book was your gut reaction. Go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was great.
My theme song is definitely 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh,
okay.
Coming back from Key West.
That makes
let's
sense.
do that.
Got to keep a positive attitude all the time living in Washington.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll nix the book then. If you want to find out, you'll have to send an email to Jen.
So if I had a theme song, it would be 5 o'clock somewhere by Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, wait, they're different? I was thinking Jimmy Buffett. There's two different.
Mm-hmm. See, you have to be a real fan to know. Alan Jackson brings Jimmy in.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. He's the lead.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Holy crap.
We have so much to learn.
Alan Jackson, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. When in Finseca?
Jimmy Buffett knowledge. There you go.
Did you have any margaritas when you were in the Keys?
I had a lot of margaritas. No cheeseburgers, though.
It is paradise.
I may get a cheeseburger at lunch today. Tell us about your career path leading up to Finseca and where you are. You could go way before that or just at Finseca, however you want to slice it up. And then tell us about Finseca's mission and how they represent the advisors and the clients that Steve and I and everyone here represents as well.
Yeah, awesome. So I got started at the White House. My first job was in the Office of Presidential Correspondence. All the mail the president would receive came through our office. I was working under President Obama at the time. Remember, we had healthcare.gov, Obamacare rolling out. At the time, we also had a government shutdown, and the website wasn't working. And it was there that I saw real humans writing in, saying, I need help. And we were helping them. We were pulling out their letters. We were helping connect them with Health and Human Services, people who said they were losing their doctors. We were calling them up and making sure they got help. And it was in that moment I realized that government wants to work for the people. We have to figure out how to use a voice. So from there, I went to the National Restaurant Association, where I helped restaurant operators and owners figure out how to tell their story. Similar to people at Finseca. They're business owners, oftentimes trying to keep clients and keep their customers happy. So I spent 5 years at the National Restaurant Association and came over to Finseca.
I'm a little curious. I'm curious about reading the letters.
Yeah.
What was the volume? I mean, how many letters would come in daily?
So I will tell you, we were about 6 months backlogged. So we had probably, depending on the day, but we would probably get about 40 to 50 boxes of mail a week. And we were about 6 months backlogged. But at the time when we had the healthcare.gov fiasco, we were scanning the letters really quickly to see if someone mentioned healthcare. So that way we were helping immediately. But any mail the president would receive, so I read letters that came from presidents from other nations.
Wow.
He doesn't have a private mailbox.
So you wonder now, this is a complete diversion from our topic at hand, but you wonder now with AI and can there be a process built where you can take letters, scan them through, identify keywords, and then, maybe try and catch up on that 6 month or 9 month or 3 month, whatever it is, backlog.
Yeah, we received all of the gifts as well. So anything valued over $5 came through our office. Little known fact, there's also a comment line. So you can call and just make comments to the president. That was the worst job because you couldn't really answer. You just had to listen. And any greetings. So people who want Christmas cards, wedding announcements, all of that would come through the office. The scanning part, talking about AI, we were just onboarding Salesforce at the time so that then the National Archives receives all the letters. And you can look up, Steve Target sent a note to President Obama about his dog. They were tracking all of that.
Interesting.
You want to talk about why we're here today?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, today's April 21st, 2026. We'll put a timestamp on it so we can identify where we are and what's going on. Things are changing quickly in our world. Taxes, legislation, there's a lot going on. So I guess why don't we kind of start maybe at a very high level, and then we'll see how granular we want to get with some of the questions. But Jen, what are you related to our business, our businesses, our clients? What are you seeing that's most maybe impactful now that we should be aware of, and the tax legislation or changes or potential bills being passed?
Sure. So as a reminder, Finseca, trade association representing financial security professionals. Our members are folks like you all, people that are working every day with small businesses and families to really plan for their financial futures. What I spend my day working on is working with people like you to advocate on behalf of your clients on the businesses that you serve, but also on the other side, translating what is happening in this hot mess express that we call Washington back home to people. I feel like every day these days I live in a verse of we didn't start the fire. There is just so much happening all of the time. Just last week, we had Senator Wyden put out a new bill on private placement life insurance, and at the same time, there was another bill put out about creating more opportunities for folks to save for retirement. We are getting into what I call silly season now with the election upcoming, just about, call it 6 months away, and people are just putting out legislation to say this is what I'm interested in. But what we're watching most closely here in D.C. is really the implementation of H.R. 1, the tax bill. All the certainty the bill created and how some of the new tax items like the Trump accounts, no tax on tips, what that impact really means for advisors when they're working with their clients.
I mean, what Newton One focuses on, is, as you know, is the insurance side of the business. The private client work with families, helping them transfer wealth, build legacies, maybe mitigate estate taxes, and then on the executive benefit side, whether it's deferred compensation or other opportunities for privately, but also publicly traded companies. Every day we go out and we meet with our clients and we try and help them make decisions that are meaningful to them and their families, and make sure that people are protected in the manner they should be protected. So we really value what you all do, helping us represent some of those laws that can impact our clients directly. It's a very comforting feeling knowing that there's such a strong team here that's looking at this day in and day out, not only on behalf only of us as the advisors, but really more importantly of our clients. So if you were a client thinking about maybe taxes, is there something related to planning? Is there something you see out there that's maybe peeking around a corner that they should be aware of?
Yeah, Steve, I think it's a great question. As we look at the most recent tax bill, it made a lot of things permanent. What permanent means in Washington is there's no tax cliff, But it can always mean that permanent can change, right? You think about where we are in the world, I think $39 trillion deficit in this country. We need money. And as Democrats start to think about what they would write a tax bill and how they would look, they're going to look at some of these new tax changes that maybe cut down revenue as opportunities to raise revenue if you want to pay for something else. That's really what Washington is about. It's about two versions of math, the budget math, and the vote math. How do we get those two things to line up so we can pass a bill? And so as I think about where we're going around the corner, there's this rise on the Democratic side of progressive, right? The party is pulling more to the left and tax the rich and taxing capital gains at death and all of these different ideas to raise revenues. But not only on the Democratic side, on the Republican side, the populism is also rising. People who want to figure out how do we better distribute wealth and distribute wealth in different ways. You marry those two things together, coupled with Social Security insolvency in the next, 8 years, 2032, we have a real problem on our hands. And DC, no matter who's in charge, is going to be looking for money. And so it's so important to make sure you're doing the planning now and making sure your affairs are in order and utilizing products like life insurance to make sure that down the line, if things change, you are set and you're stable.
Give us a little insight. We always hear about these battles of the left and the right and maybe some moderates, but we also hear stories about collegiality. Mm-hmm. And, you get behind closed doors and you converse and you battle maybe a little bit and you compromise. From your perspective, are you seeing that as kind of stabilized now? Has it changed one way or the other? Has it become more divisive? Or is it less divisive, or is it the same?
I think it's become more divisive because of the political system we're operating in, unfortunately, right? Parties are gerrymandering districts, so they're either becoming more Republican or more Democrat. You're not rewarded for being in the middle anymore because you might get a primary. If you think about where we are in the world today, there's only about 20 House Representative seats that are considered toss-ups. 30 years ago, that number was probably 50 or 60. So what that means is less people are rewarded for working in the middle. But hope is not all lost. And Steve, one of your good friends, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, he co-chairs the Problem Solvers Caucus. 50 members of Congress, Democrat, Republican, that are working down the middle to find solutions that are permanent that can help real Americans solve problems, whether it be on affordability, is it on retirement, permitting, you name it. They're working together as a voting bloc to find solutions. But they're not the people that you see in the news. They're not the people that are always on getting all the attention because they're the ones working behind closed doors to find answers and solutions.
There's as we know, November's coming up. It's going to be here quicker than we realize. We'll get through the summer into the fall, and all of a sudden we're in the elections in November. And I think one of the challenges for everybody is a heck of a lot can change between now and then. Whether it's international affairs, whether it's the economy. I mean, there's a lot of things that can potentially sway this election in November, and therefore, what happens for the second half of President Trump's term. Is it too early for you to maybe start speculating or thinking about what you see within kind of the tea leaves of what might happen in November?
I think it's a little bit early, and my job is not to predict.
You sound like Josh.
My job is to make sure we're prepared,
Yeah.
right? And so any scenario in which we have, a House that's Democrat or House that's Republican, Senate that's Democrat or a Senate that's Republican, we're still going to have President Trump in the White House. What does that look like? What we've seen now is the margins are slim. And I think that to me, is the one area that I can say with certainty that we will have slim margins, whether it be Democrats or Republicans taking the House. The Senate is a tougher hill to climb for Democrats. They don't have as many seats that are up. But again, as you said, Steve, between now and November, a lot can change. I remember, in 2020, March, we had COVID. No one would have expected COVID to happen, and what that changed for the election is tremendous. So as we think about what that means for you all and your clients that you're serving, if we do have a situation in which Democrats take either House or the Senate, it forces bipartisanship. How that comes together is a little bit tough to tell, but areas that are still really bipartisan, retirement, that's an area that matters, I know, to your clients. That's places where people are still working together. if there is a scenario in which Republicans keep both the House and the Senate, they might attempt to do another tax bill. But again, I think the margins are really slim, and it's difficult to get these large sweeping bills done because everyone wants something. And if you add in granola for Steve, you're going to lose Mark because he really wanted steak. So the recipe to make these situations come together is challenging. We don't have a lot of votes.
Finseca stands for Financial Security for All.
Yes.
On the way down here, we were talking about Senator Wyden and the PPLI legislation that has come out. And I said, Steve, PPLI affects, in terms of implementing that solution, it affects the upper ultra-affluent type of clientele that we tend to deal with. And he said, and he always does this because he allows me to see the big picture, he goes, yeah, but if those changes take place even for those types of policies, someone who's just acquired a whole life policy that may not be of that stature could have those same tax implications. And that's huge for our business if that passes. So just taking a step back and looking at the big picture, though it may be, we need to tax the wealthy, seeing how it could trickle down and affect all of us, I think is important. So
absolutely. I mean, you think about the tax code, permanent life insurance is permanent life insurance, right? There's no special section for private placement. And the concern there is it starts with private placement life insurance and the thresholds that are there, and all of a sudden it becomes variable life insurance. The other big concern that I always have is Wyden's bill is retroactive. Yeah. That's concerning. Retroactive tax policy doesn't work. It's hard to do, and it's punitive. So that's one of the big things that we're pushing back on. But that's part of my job at Finseca. Yep. Having conversations with lawmakers, helping them understand. You think about the average age of a congressional staffer, it's someplace between 25 and 27. The thought of them doing planning themselves, even just getting a term policy, is probably, there's probably a handful of people who've done that. So that's why it's so important for folks like you and Mark, for both of you to be engaged and involved. We're teaching lawmakers and their staff the basics to start, and then we can layer on and teach them some of the more advanced planning strategies. But if you don't understand the value of life insurance and why financial planning is so key and crucial, you're not going to understand the implications of some of these changes.
Yeah, the Financial Security for All, there was an article I read last week or the week before that was talking about how in many college curriculums, economics is not taught. And so having a basic understanding whether that financial literacy is taught to high school students or to college students, but just understanding kind of the basics of what you need to do in order to be financially stable is something that's really important. And, I guess the older I get, the more I have a concern about that for the younger generation. You talk about the staffers being younger, and they're probably not thinking about those things, or maybe they are, but I think the financial literacy piece that's helping the community as a whole understand, the blocking and the tackling of saving money, of putting money away, of insurance planning, of protecting risks, disability insurance. Next month we have the Disability Insurance Awareness Month coming up, which is a big opportunity.
My third favorite month. First is Financial Literacy Month. Second is Life Insurance Awareness Month, September, and then
there you go.
And
Disability
then
Insurance.
Trifecta.
The DM.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my birthday's in January, so none of this is about me. It's all about you.
We appreciate all you do, Jennifer, and your team at Finseca. Is there anything we didn't touch on today that you want to talk about?
Do you want to talk a little bit about what we see as far as what's going on with regulations?
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
just a
Yeah,
quick-
yeah,
a quick second?
absolutely. Yeah.
Let's ask the question. So,
well,
Jen, what are you seeing about what's coming up with regulations?
Well, I think, again, thinking about this being a fleeting moment, yesterday we lost the Department of Labor secretary. She resigned. And so if you asked me this question yesterday, my answer would be probably different. But the thing I do want to flag is really exciting. You both know we've been battling the fiduciary fight for a long time and affecting how people can receive financial advice. Well, recently there was a proposed rule on alternative assets in 401ks. But in that rule, they identify the value of annuities and why sometimes you might pay a higher fee, but you get the guarantee. And you also might be a little bit less liquid, but you get that guaranteed income for life. And for the government to say that in a regulation is so key and crucial to underscoring the value of the lifetime income and the work that you both do. So that's really exciting. I don't say that about the Department of Labor very often. So I think we'll take that and we'll run with it.
It's a victory.
Yep. That's all I got, unless you have anything else to add, Jen.
That's
It's been
it.
a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks for being
thank
with
you
us.
both.
Awesome.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. Looking forward to lunch.
Bye. Goodbye.
The material and opinions voiced are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what is appropriate for you, please contact a member of our team.